What is going on, guys? Marcus here with the Reformation Woodshop. In today's video, we are going to talk about the difference between cheap chisels and expensive chisels. I'm going to be giving you the complete rundown on the Harbor Freight 6-piece chisel set and the chisels that I use, the Narex set. I'm going to tell you all the specs and everything that makes these different, but more importantly, in this video, I'm going to be telling you why you never go with what I call paint can openers. Alright, so for starters, obviously, it says it right on the chisel. The Harbor Freight chisels are chrome vanadium, while the Narex chisels are chrome manganese. What does that mean? That is the question. One of the number one factors when choosing chisels is metal quality, because when you choose a chisel with higher quality metal, its edge will stay sharp longer, or if you choose lower quality, you'll lose that sharpness quicker. The Harbor Freight chisels on the Rockwell hardness scale range from 40 to 55, and the Narex are 41 to 65, so the Narex are a little bit harder. In reference to tensile strength, the Harbor Freight can openers score at 300 megapascals, while the Narex tensile strength is 965. A megapascal is just a unit of measurement to measure tensile strength. That means that these guys, in reference to their tensile strength, are 3 times stronger. The Narex set of chisels is ready to cut straight from the package. It's got a nice protective wax on each blade, protecting its sharpness. It is ready to go right now. I have never used this chisel. I don't know how I'm supposed to do this test, but you see, it cuts paper beautifully. Straight out of the package. It still has the wax on it. I didn't even scrape it off that good. These guys, on the other hand, have to be honed right away. You cannot go straight to work with them. Both chisels have what look to be beech handles. I say what look to be because on the Harbor Freight website, it says hardwood handles. There's nothing indicating exactly what wood this is, but to me, it looks like poorly turned beech. The Narex, on the other hand, have a nice hand contouring European beech handle that is lacquered and beautiful. These guys were made to sit in your hand comfortably and not give you calluses when you're utilizing them. Both of these chisels have what is called a ferrule at the end, and that is so that when you're striking them with a mallet or a hammer, the wood doesn't split, and if it does, it's well contained. The problem with the Harbor Freight chisels is that the ferrule on its chisel is just tossed on there. Every single one of them that I have spins in place. They're loosely fit. They're not doing the job that they were intended to do. And not just to hyper focus on Harbor Freight, but cheap chisels in general cut corners and have a bunch of little hang-ups like this. Now let's check out the Narex chisels. They are custom fit to do exactly what they're supposed to do. Support and protect your chisel so that it has a long lifespan. It's frustrating trying to dig into these chisels and find any information out because there's nothing to find. I found that these Narex chisels were hardened to 59 HCR. I looked up the hardness of these guys. You just can't find anything. You have to look up specific materials like chrome vanadium. Narex, on the other hand, has a rich history of making tools, over 100 years. These guys specialize in hand tools. I know exactly where this comes from, and while I can assume where these guys come from because we know where a lot of Harbor Freight tools come from, I just don't know. For full transparency, I will mention Harbor Freight has tons of reviews that are good on these guys on their website. Now, they do sound like paid actors, but they have good reviews. There are only 27 one-star reviews. Many of those reviews mention the fact that straight out of the package, these guys had divots and burrs in their tips, making it so that they had to be returned or sharpened on the spot. Now for the real meat of a conversation. What is it that you're using chisels for? Do you need to open a bucket of paint? Then screw everything that I've said this entire video. Do not get the Narex chisels. Don't do that. Go to the nearest bargain bin woodworking store, grab some cheap chisels. This is your next new great paint bucket opener. Everyone has a DIY phase where they start off and they're like, I just need the cheapest stuff. I bought these in that phase. The reason that we utilize chisels is not to open paint buckets. It's to create nice, fine joinery, to remove material in the most easy and efficient way possible. And these guys will not get that done. I will sharpen one of them, make some cuts, show you what it can do, and then put it against the Narex chisel and see what this guy is capable of. I'm utilizing these chisels to do a few rudimentary tests. First, I'm going to cut the face grain of this piece of alder right here, and my Narex slices right through it. It gets a nice, clean, straight cut. It ribbons off. There's a pretty consistent cut. I move on to the lower quality chisel, and it has trouble digging, and once I do get in, it breaks off pretty easily because it's just pushing through the material like a pocket knife would. Pocket knives can cut wood, but that's not what you choose when you want to actually cut wood. They both work to chip out materials. Either is better than the other on that, and I wouldn't expect it to be. But this is the ultimate test, cleaning out a dado with your chisel. As I'm cutting through this dado with this Narex chisel, you can hear the blade of the chisel cutting wood. It's not pushing through and breaking material, it's legitimately cutting the wood. I find at first it's a good blunt force trauma chisel, where it's very good at taking away the large scale materials, but it over gouges. Even if I slow down, take my time, the chisel will skip across the wood and not hold a straight path. I tried to quickly finish up off camera and it blew out. I've tried to be as fair as possible, and this is not the end-all be-all test, but that's the issue with the Harbor Freight chisels, or just cheap chisels in general, is that they don't keep their edge. They dull. You don't know that they're dull because you sharpened them 5 minutes ago, and then they blow out and they chip out. Obviously, it blew out this whole side, but what you don't see is that it's digging deeply into this material. It's not keeping a straight cut because its edge is Wile E. Coyote. This guy, on the other hand, with the Narex chisels, is straight cut beautifully. It is exactly what I want it to be. This guy, I thought about coming back in with the Narex chisel just to make it look better because it looks so bad. But then I blew it out, sadly. I got these beautiful chisels from taytools.com. That link will be in the description. Obviously, all of these tests are arbitrary. I'm doing my best to be as honest as possible and help you make an educated decision on chisel shopping. I'm cutting this piece of mesquite, which is one of the hardest woods in the world. This Narex chisel cuts right up on the line. It gets right exactly where I want it to. I take the cheap chisel. I go right back where I was at with the Narex chisel. I cannot dig. I cannot even grab into the surface. And maybe you're saying, well, yeah, that's because you already removed all of the easy material with the Narex. After not getting a good cut with the Harbor Freight chisel, I come back with the Narex and cut immediately, pulling away a lot of material that the cheap chisel could not do. The point of this video is to tell you that there are so many options when it comes to chisels, and buying chisels is not like buying a hammer. It's not something that you can just buy and it'll work. You do need to search for quality when buying chisels. You guys know I am all for a bargain tool. If the cheap option is also a viable tool option, that's the one I choose every single time. I want the cheap alternative to work, but they just don't. If you want to use these to make some notches in 2x4s that you're trying to put in walls or something like that, there's chisels for that too, and this is not it. I have these Pony Jorgensen chisels. They are great for exactly what I described. Going into a flip house, digging into a piece of 2x4 that needs to be notched for some specific reason, or a trim board or something. Beating these to death. They have a nice metal end that you can hit with a regular old metal hammer. You don't have to buy the Narex chisels, but skip out on buying the Harbor Freight ones. There are many good chisels out there. In the description, I'm going to link a video from Wood by Wright where he goes over all of the good chisels. The Narex Richter is the #1 chisel in his opinion, but he goes over all of the good things about all of the chisels he's encountered. And the link for the chisels that I use will be in the description below. Check those out if you want to go deeper into the chisel rabbit hole. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.